gives me great pleasure to see so many of you being a part of this journey that we have started. This initiative is combined effort of In Harmony and Tweet Foundation. Abina Aher, whom you heard last time, she is one of the founder directors of Tweet Foundation. Very quickly, introduction about us. In Harmony, my name is Anupama Ishwaran, and I founded In Harmony in 2014. Shireen Popat works with me, and Shireen is on this call. As soon as I stop sharing this presentation, I think Shireen will say hi to you. She is assisting us at the back end for this webinar. These are the two pillars under which we offer our services. Large part of our work is in the area of diversity and inclusion. We work across various pillars of diversity, and our focus is more on creating inclusive workplaces as well as inclusive societies. Under the employee well-being area, we offer counseling services, and we offer short module sessions, which we call Cutting Chai, just like the Mumbai Cutting Chai. These are some of the clients with whom we have done some very interesting projects in the space of diversity and inclusion, various consultancy assignments, various training programs, and we are extremely proud to have them with us. For today's session, I'm going to start with this beautiful quote by Maya Angelou. Her writings inspire me immensely. It says, "I will look after you, and I will look after anybody you say needs to be looked after, any way you say. I am here. I brought my whole self to you. I am your mother." With a backdrop of Mother's Day, which was celebrated on 10th of May, we bring you this very special webinar under which we are going to show you the role of a mother in the life of a transgender person, and the relevance of the whole concept of motherhood in the transgender community. I would now like to introduce the two speakers for today's session. They are Dr. Bela Sharma, whom you can see. So Dr. Bela Sharma is an alumnus of Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, AMU, Aligarh 1981 batch. She was commissioned in the Indian Air Force as a short service commission officer in 1992, where she served as a medical specialist for 5 years. Thereafter, she worked as physician nephrologist in Command Hospital, Western Command, Chandi Mandir, SUT Hospital, Tiruvananthapuram, and Fortis Hospital, Mohali. She joined Fortis Hospital, Gurgaon in 2012 as head of the Department of Preventive Healthcare and Lifestyle Medicine. And presently, she holds the post of Additional Director, Internal Medicine, FMRI, Gurgaon. She is a parent of a transgender child and keenly shares her experience and knowledge with lots of parents, and that's one of the reasons why she's here today. She's one of the founding directors of Association for Transgender Health in India, and is Medical Director of Indian Professional Association for Transgender Health and chairperson of HIM. Our second speaker, Dr. Yoga Nambiar. Yoga,
hello.
Are you there, Yoga?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
hello,
hi,
everyone.
Yoga. Yes, so my association actually with both Bela and Yoga is fairly recent. Bela just a few, I think, weeks back. And
a few weeks back.
Yes, where we've been working together to provide, along with Tweet Foundation, we've been reaching out to transgender community and providing them ration during the lockdown period. So Yoga is calls herself speaker, feminist, social activist, and she's a movement therapist. She's a Indian classical dancer specializing in Bharatnatyam and Kuchipudi. She has a dance troupe and she also teaches dance. She has a music group, I think, an online Instagram group and there are huge followers for that. Yoga completed her doctorate in mental health and her topic was movement therapy and mental health. And she started Global Rights Foundation, which works in the area of transgender women and child rights. Their major focus area is HIV/AIDS. And now we'll start with Dr. Bela. Dr. Bela, before we move on to the presentation, which is very, very relevant, let's start with a few questions. So would you like to just share your journey? I've heard it and I was really touched by it. So maybe start with how old was your daughter realize that she isn't comfortable as who she is in the body that she was born in?
This is for all the mothers out there. Taksh was the first grandchild for my in-laws, and second generation Fauji family. My father-in-law was also in Fauj. So, we were in Chandigarh, Himachal, Punjab, you know how it is. So it was a big celebration and everything. But somehow it really didn't matter. Boy, girl, we were not. Somehow at the, retrospect, if I think about it, I guess from very childhood onwards, Taksh had displayed the signs that, she was more into playing with dolls. She would play with my chunni or my sister-in-law's dresses. But she started becoming uncomfortable with herself and her body image when she started going through puberty. I would say around 11 years of age, when she started displaying those signs. She's not comfortable with her body. She would not look into the mirror, and she started talking about I look ugly, I am not good, and then after that she started showing signs of anxiety. She was, I won't say anxiety, but yes, depression, yes. And like I was talking to Anupama in the morning, Taksh was a very, is still a very bright child, an extrovert. Studies may always on top, extracurricular activities may always on top. You'd be amazed to know Taksh started reading newspaper at the age of 4. Taksh published her first story in a national magazine, children's magazine, at the age of 6. And by 7, she was reading full-fledged books, not children's comics and all, proper books. So, and she had started writing at the age of 4, I think 4 or 5. She was writing stories and poems and things. So she was able to hide it. But around the 14, 15, she started talking about hormone therapy, body transformation, and body contouring. Then around, again, she was undergoing treatment for depression, anxiety, and we were talking to the psychiatrists. We were in Chandigarh. Then from Chandigarh, we came to Delhi for her treatment. I was driving down every week to Delhi. I spoke to the psychiatrists also. My husband Sanjay, he's a pediatrician. He spoke to the psychiatrist that maybe this is gender dysphoria, that time we were calling it. So the psychiatrists also were somehow, not very comfortable labeling the child as such. They said, "Nahi ho sakta hai, about personality disorder ho. Let's see, let's talk about it." But it's only when she was in Mumbai, this is 2015. She was around 20 that time, and she called up in the middle of the night and told Sanjay that, "Dad, I don't think it's right for me to be living like this. I'm so unhappy that I don't want to go on living." And at that moment, Sanjay said, "My child, if this is what you want, this is what we will do. I'm sending you the ticket, you come home." This is 12 in the night, 5 o'clock, she was here with us. And then we started looking around. We found a psychiatrist who was dealing with gender incongruent children. We started her treatment, and touch wood, today we have 2 happy, healthy daughters.
Dr. Bela, I think clearly when you speak about the fact that at 12, 13, she started talking about hormone therapy, she started talking about indirectly giving you hints. And you also mentioned the fact that you were taking her to the psychiatrist, getting her treated for anxiety, depression, etc. any signs, like today when you look back, anything which told you that, is there something you could have done better at that point to reduce the anxiety
Um,
and depression?
I really don't know, because right from the beginning, like she was uncomfortable with her body, that I knew, and I've always been very close with my children, and we used to talk about it. Probably, medical college mein, our professor used to tell us that eyes don't see what mind doesn't know. Here I'll go one step further, and I'll say eyes don't see what mind is not ready to accept. Gender incongruence. Now we don't say gender. We say gender incongruence uh, is something which has not taught to us in the medical college also. Probably because this was something which was not taught to us, which was something which we had not read about. And most of what I know now has been taught to me by my daughter only. She's the one who researched it. She's the one who studied about it. I wish she had been a little more open, but then to give her credit, she did try to tell us, and probably we were not able to understand. And if I think had there been something I had been able to do differently, I really don't know. I don't think so, because uh, when the day she said that, okay, this is what I want to do, we said okay. And a very interesting thing, she first came out to me and she told me, Mama, that time she was in ninth, Mama, I think I'm gay. I remember I was watching a movie that time. Shah Rukh Khan की movie थी. कौन सी movie थी? I don't remember. So I said, ठीक है, okay. So she says, आपने सुना नहीं? I said, हाँ, I heard it and I understand it. You are gay, fine. So like, what is the big deal? कल को तो मेरी तेरी शादी नहीं करा रही हूँ ना, तो अपनी ninth तो पास कर ले पहले. उसके बाद we'll think about it. And that was it. That is the kind of open relationship we had. We still have, touch wood.
So the sense of the fact that you will accept her anyway was always, that message was
Absolutely.
always clear.
Absolutely.
So tell
Absolutely.
me, from your end, yes, it was clear. What about the rest of the society? Your relatives, family, other family members. How did they react to it? And you said you're a North Indian, so patriarchy is very
Yeah,
strong.
patriarchal society. Yeah. And first grandson, you know how it is. When Taksh was born, my mother-in-law went around spreading, 50 rupees notes to everybody in the hospital. सबको ले लेके वो ऐसे ऐसे पैसे बांट रही थी. And everybody was, घर पे जो भी आता था सबको मिठाई के डब्बे दिए जाते थे. पोता हुआ है जी, पोता हुआ है, that kind of thing. I lost my mother-in-law in 2012, but my father-in-law is still here. So when Sanjay told dad, he's 96. So dad thought for some time, then he said, अच्छा ठीक है, this is what God wants. And कोई बात नहीं, पुराणों में बहुत इस तरह के एग्जाम्पल्स हैं. भगवान विष्णु ने मोहिनी का रूप धरा था, और ठीक है, so what, भगवान की देन है. अभी तक तुम्हारा एक बेटा एक बेटी थी. Now you are mother of two daughters. एंड बाकी सोसाइटी का ये है, हम अपने बच्चे के साथ हैं, किसी की हिम्मत है कुछ कहने की.
Yeah.
But touch wood, I've been very fortunate. We have been very fortunate. All our friends, our relatives, my parents, my brothers, sisters, everybody has been very, very supportive. It's been like, apna bachcha hai. And those who are not supportive actually don't matter.
Rightly said. So, Dr. Bela, what kind of challenges did you face as a mom of a person who was going through, like, your own anxieties? See, as parents, anyway, we have anxieties. In this situation, what kind of?
Quite a lot actually. And it's a long journey. It's a very long journey. right from the time, I think, since she was about 10, first and foremost is you're not able to understand what is happening. First, what is the child going through? And then why is the child going through all this? Because initially, even the child is not able to understand uh, what she's feeling is right or wrong, or क्यों हो रहा है. And for me it was कि I had no problems having two daughters. अगर शुरू से ही मेरी दो बेटियां होती तो मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, बट बच्चे को इतना कष्ट क्यों है? And again that anxiety कि आगे क्या होगा? What kind of life will my child have? Will she find acceptance? Will she find a career? Will she have a life for herself? And life is tough as it is. So, and at that time I was more concerned कि बच्चे पहले तुम अपना करियर कर लो, पहले तुम अपनी पढ़ाई कर लो. ये why are all these things so important for you? But then I realized कि now I realize आज के डेट में कि for this child uh, the appearance, the gender is more important than anybody else. It's like my name is Bela. If people spell my name wrongly, I get irritated. So many times people spell it Bella, and I get irritated कि सिंगल एल है, आप क्यों गलत कर रहे हो स्पेलिंग, सिंपल सी स्पेलिंग है. देयर इज अ चाइल्ड, उसका पूरा फिजिक अलग है. I can understand it now, but that time it was, I couldn't understand कि why. How does it matter whether you're a boy or a girl? So that anxiety was there. Then the anxiety कि आप बाहर जाओगे, you are avoid, you're dressed in clothes, she used to call them androgynous clothes. But again I would feel कि people will laugh at you. लोग क्या कहेंगे? रास्ते में somebody can molest you, especially when we came to Delhi and Gurgaon. I used to be scared. I used to be scared for her safety. तुमको रास्ते में कोई पकड़ लेगा, या कोई पीट देगा पकड़ के, या कोई molest कर देगा. Then all those kinds of apprehensions are always there. When she joined college, तो I was scared कि वहाँ पे पता नहीं बच्चे accept करेंगे या नहीं. But surprisingly, it was easier for her to be accepted in college in places like Delhi and Bombay than it was in Chandigarh.
So, Dr. Bella, how did you handle your anxiety? What did you do about that?
I would say my biggest support is my husband. Sanjay has been like, I don't know, Taksh calls him a saint. He has been there like a rock, and like a sponge. Actually, he absorbs all negativity, all my anxieties, all my depression, and he gives out positivity. One more thing that we did was, Sanjay was in Fauj. He quit his job. He was Air Commodore, which is equivalent to a brigadier, and he was on his way up, but he quit it. And then we have set up this not-for-profit organization called ATI, which is an association for transgender health in India. You'll be surprised, there are very few people looking at the health of transgenders. So like, it's like, you know, अगर किसी को जुकाम या बुखार भी हो जाता है, where do they go? In a normal clinic, the doctors don't feel very comfortable to have transgenders in their clinic. उनको लगता है बाकी patients क्या करेंगे type ना. So we started looking at that. Uske, there are two arms. One is IPATH, which is the professional arm, which is for doctors and other medical staff. And this other is KHEM, which is knowledge, healthcare, education, and mainstreaming. So we started working at this. That helps me deal with my stress and my anxieties, because then I see there are people who are going through probably much more than I am. And there is so much we can do for people who are going through so much. We had our first international conference last year. And this year now we are putting up a document in the form of a book which will be giving us all the scientific knowledge. And we are going out giving workshops. We are doing workshops with parents, with teachers, with healthcare workers. So that helps a lot.
So I think that's really inspiring that, you know, what your journey has been, you're sharing with other parents. So
Absolutely.
hoping to help them recognize these signs and help
Yeah.
them. So I think what I'm going to do, because also we have to be careful on the
Yeah.
time part, I'm going to
Time is
share
a constraint.
your presentation, because it answers some of the questions which I had, that,
Yes.
you know, what are the early signs and
Yeah.
things like that, which your
Yeah.
presentation really takes care
Yeah.
of. And so
Yeah.
on.
Please do.
So you can see, Dr. Bella.
Yeah, I can see it. Last time, actually, Abina had already talked about gender and sex. So I'm not going to tell you about that. We'll just say what is gender identity. That gets fixed very early. By 2 to 3 years, the child has already decided, the child already knows whether he's a boy or she's a girl. It gets fixed by 2 to 3 years. So how does the gender cueing start? You know, our parents, caregivers, teachers, and other in the social environment. Like you can see, boys we generally say play with guns or drums or that kind of uh, stuff, and girls they're playing with dolls, they're having tea parties with their dolls and their thing. So this is gender cueing. This is how a child gets an idea, okay, I am a boy, this is how I am supposed to behave. And for most children that is a thing which is their part of their growing up and recognizing their gender identity. So this is how we recognize our gender, and this is how we train our children. But this is already wired in their DNA, in their brain, in their network. Okay. So gender labeling, children first learn to identify their own sex and other sex through gender cueing, like we said. So they learn, I am a boy or I am a girl, my mom is a girl, my father is a boy, brother, sister, that way. So by the time they're 2 to 3, they start identifying, and by the time 5 to 6 years, most children they have achieved a gender stability. Sometimes the gender may not be consistent. So in that case, we call the child is having a gender fluidity. The child may be towards one side, towards other side. Some children may not may be comfortable in both. Boy hai but likes playing with girls, or ladki hai we say tomboy hai, likes playing with guns, likes playing football, or boyish tendencies. Like Enid Blyton में एक character हमेशा होता था, one girl who would be tomboy and would have short hair and boyish name. Gender affirmation is when a child starts affirming that, okay, I am a boy or I am a girl, which again normally happens by the age of 5 to 6 years, but may be delayed. So, like some of it is done by the parents, by the family, by the others, and some of it is hardwired inside the child. Like girls are pink and boys are blue. That is normally how we look at it. Yeah. So, gender variance and gender role non-conformity. Some children, like we said, gender fluidity, some children may not conform to a particular gender, which may or may not persist into adolescence. When there is a marked gender variance in adolescence, this often persists into adulthood also. And gender incongruence is when there is a variation in the core gender identity, which means the child is having whatever the core gender is different from the outer appearance. Like we were talking about sex and gender, this is where gender incongruence comes. And it has been seen that this is more common in girls as compared to boys. Yeah. So this is what we were talking about, the early signs. You see a child is uncomfortable, child is anxious, child is by herself or himself, child is having night terrors. You see a child is displaying signs like biting nails or crying, not performing well in the studies. A child who has always been good in the studies, has always been a good achiever, suddenly the grades go down and the teacher says pata nahi kya ho gaya, bachcha aajkal kisi se baat nahi karta hai, akele akele rehta hai. That is the time when you need to sit back and start thinking, what is wrong? There has to be something. Is the child being bullied in school, or is the child not comfortable with herself? Something is there. This is one of the earliest signs, and it may start happening as early as 6 to 7 years of age. Yeah. So then we come to parents' role. The last slide that we saw, please keep that in mind. That is for all parents of small children. If your child is showing any of those signs, now, what are the red flags? All those are red flags. Why do we have to be on the lookout of red flags? To prevent dysphoria. We have to know when and who to ask. When the child is displaying any of those behaviors, who to ask? Ask your pediatrician, ask the psychiatrist, ask the endocrinologist, ask whoever you think should be asked. Pediatrician is the person who is in contact with your child's teachers, other parents, if you know any other parents of transgender children, but don't hide it. Talk to people, ask them. You have to know the law, because a number of times the teachers will say, this child is disrupting the class, take the child away from the school. No, law is on your side. Seek knowledge, share it, spread it. Like I said, most of my knowledge came from my child because she started reading, she told me. Develop tolerance from a different viewpoint. A number of times a child has a different viewpoint, other parents have a different viewpoint. Be tolerant, understand. Your child may not be a trans child, the other parents are there, their children may be different. Learn to accept. And if you feel something is not right, something is wrong, please speak up. Don't let your child be bullied. On the other hand, don't let your child bully the other children. This is very important. Your child is more scared. Don't hate your child for putting you in a position where you are uncomfortable. The child comes to you because the child trusts you. And the child believes that whatever happens, parents will love you. Please don't break that trust. This is very important. And once child is comfortable with you, child is ready to take on the world. This I got from a book which says, no matter what is happening, remember that life can get better, but only if you're breathing. Remember, the incidence of self-harm and suicide is 2 to 3 times more in transgender children as compared to the non-transgender children. 40 to 60% of children commit suicide. Try to commit suicide. A lot of them are successful. What a waste. What a waste of life. And unfortunately, or fortunately, or whatever we may say, transgender children generally have a high IQ. They are intelligent children. They are bright children. We need to help them and we need to help ourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Bela. I think that this will be a lot of information for most parents, and I hope many of you will share it with other parents. And parents do tend to talk about children, so if at all there is a red flag, please share. Many of you may have questions for Dr. Bela, so we'll keep that towards the end. I'd now like to invite Dr. Nambiar. So this is the other angle which I was talking about. So you met Dr. Bela, who is a mother of a transgender person. Yoga Nambiar herself is a trans woman, and she is a mother to many people in the community. And I realized this aspect because on Mother's Day, many of them were, even Abhina is here, so all their chelas were wishing them happy Mother's Day. And that's when I realized, oh my God, there's such a beautiful relationship which exists in this community where the Guru Mas nurture their chelas just like a mother would do. So Yoga, I want to ask you a little bit more about this aspect of motherhood in the community. How does it work?
Yeah, first of all, a very happy Mother's Day to everyone, everybody's mother. And for me, every day is a Mother's Day. So there is no specific day like Valentine Day, Independence Day. No, mother works every day. So every day is a Mother's Day for me. And thank you so much, Anupama, for inviting me in this session. And also Abhina, thank you so much. I know Abhina ji from last so many years, and uh, we are in touch. So when we talk about transgender community, we are the hidden population, and we don't come out so easily in public. But the relationship that we carry is like very sensitive. We have a relationships like Guru Chela relationship. We have mother-daughter relationship. So uh, our relationship is very sensitive, and we are very committed towards our relationship. So uh, that's how I have um, built a relationship within my community. I have a lot of chelas. I have my daughters, not only from the community, but I have also adopted 10 kids and taking care of them. Uh, so what I feel like, if you have emotions, if you have care in you, if you have feelings for others, if you have likings for other, then you are a mother, no matter you're male or female or a transgender. So if you have feelings and you belongs to this Prakriti, so Prakriti is herself is a mother nature. So if you have feelings and emotions for you, you all are mothers. And I am one of them. And I myself is a daughter of my mother, who gave birth to me, and also my Guruma, who is like, again, adopted me as a chela, and also the daughter. So for me, the relationship in transgender is again very sensitive, and we are like we try to stay away from the public just because we are facing a lot of stigma and discrimination, and we don't want to give chance to people to make a scene.
So, Yoga, what you're saying is that so in the community, when you have a mother and child relationship, what you're providing is a kind of acceptance and love, which sometimes they don't find in their own homes and in their own social spaces. Is that right?
Yes. So calling someone your daughter, or calling someone your son, is not enough. So if you're calling yourself a mother of a child, then there are responsibilities which is attached, which is already assembled uh, behind this relationship. So it's a shell, and below that shell we have love, caring, responsibilities, and a support that is required. So when we talk about, I have daughters who are like stigmatized and discriminated from their own family, from their mother, parents, from their mother, father, brothers, and relatives, and they're kicked out of their house. So I have people staying with me who I adopted them as a daughter, and like they are staying with me. I have people who was raped. I'm not talking only about transgender community, but also I work for female sex workers. So there are girls who are from red light zone, and I rescued them, and now I am the mother of those girls also. So they were sold in the red light area when they were like 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and they're trying to run away from that space. But we have rescued many girls. I'm also the mother of these people, because they don't know their own identity. They're like, they were very small, and they were sold in the market. Uh, so because I took care of them, and I saved their lives. I know I was late, but still I tried my level best to bring them out. uh, there are many girls who got married. So I also work for migrant people. So girls got married to migrant people. So like that, giving a good life to a person is also a part of motherliness.
So when you say you have responsibilities as a mother, like what would be some of the responsibilities? I hear you saying that some of them you got them married, but uh, firstly, like at what age do they come to you, and then what kind of responsibilities do you have?
See, when we talk about age, then kids, 10 kids have adopted, and I adopted them at the age of uh, 6, 7, some 10. So they are basically the children of sex workers, and many of them are like rescued child. So this is with the help of the government. I adopted them, and there are few people who are like I'm not legally adopted, but they are staying with me. I'm giving them good life with the support of some orphanage. And so when we talk about transgender community, they come after the age of 15, 16, because when you're 14, 15, when you're in school, when the parents come to know that this my son is behaving very abnormally, though it is not abnormal behavior, it is a normal behavior. So and then they kick them out. Either they kick them out, or they hammer them, or they try to uh, or the parents or the relatives try to molest them. So this is where the change happen, and then they try to run away either from their houses or from the city itself. And through someone, we have a huge community, and through someone, when we meet them, we get them back. We try to give them good life. So I used to have 22 chelas earlier, 2 3 years back, but I was like not very okay them sending them for sex work or any other activities. But then I've decided, why can't I teach them a good profession? Then 7 of my chelas has got their own tour companies as in place where they they learn uh, driving, and then they have their own vehicle. There are people who are having, there are my daughters who have their own beauty parlor. Some of them are working with chemists, and so like that we are giving opportunity to people uh, to come out of their tough life, and to get up in life, so to do something really good in life. So there is no age such, but some from after the age of 15, some came when they were like very small, and even now people are coming. Everybody is child, but uh, mother child relationship is like more with the community, me and my community. This is how it is.
That's beautiful, and it's wonderful to hear that there are so many people whom you help to get an occupation which is more sustainable uh, and respectful. That's really. I'm sure that journey must have been difficult also. It's admirable that you've managed to do that. Tell me, Yoga, you yourself are so well educated, and you've done so much. You've done your PhD. So how did that happen? Like, what kind of support did you get from your parents?
See, no parents will like when their child is called hijra, or like your child is a hijra, your child is a chapka, and all these things. So definitely no parents will like. But my parents, my father was like a very supportive person, though he's no more with us. um, so he was very supportive, and people asked him. I scored a very good marks in 10th standard, and then when I was about to take admission in the school, college, my relative said कि ये तो हिजड़ा है, ये पढ़ेंगे नहीं आगे जाके, ये लोग सिर्फ भीख मांगेंगे. So that was I still remember my the face of my parents. They were like very upset, and it was very painful thing for me. And then some relative came to my mom, and they said like, why don't you send her to the garage? So that was a very painful thing. Then I decided, let's wrap. Let's go and take admission. Let's not look behind. People will say, and we should not care about them. We should go ahead and we should do something. At least I'll be people. People like me will at least look at me, and they will think of their career. It was difficult, but again, uh, you know, uh, It was very challenging for my parents and also for me, but I have decided to go ahead, and then I did.
That's amazing. So it sounds like, what Abhina was also sharing earlier, that she also realized that education is so important. So I have now a few questions from various participants who had shared. So, Yoga, I want to ask you this question. If when children are faced harassment or bullying by peers or some others in school, colleges, and that's a fact which you have said last time, even Abhina had shared about how, especially at puberty, when you don't conform to a established gender, then there is a lot of all this that takes place. So where does one go and file complaint? Who will look up, who will listen to you and support you?
See, when we talk about the social activist, uh, they were like the number of social activists were very less 10 years back or when we were in school. So now we have like good social activists, and we have done lot and lot ground level work. We have done lot of sensitization, networking in police stations, school. I also conduct sessions in different colleges and schools and government bodies, also in municipalities, different blocks of Thane district, just to sensitize people about the gender, about transgenders, about a transgender child, about sex, sexuality, gender. So I have done a lot of ground level work. Even I think Abhina will also agree with me. We were together long time back, and the ground level work that we have done is like too much. So people are now more sensitive. People are aware what transgender is, what HIV/AIDS is, what Hijra community is, what gay community. Most of the people know, but still we have a very um, a systemized law which will at least support you when you're harassed at your workplace. So a couple of years I used to work with an organization in Pune, and I still remember I was stigmatized there many years back, and then I was like a bit confused what to do. I mean, it's you know, I was not having any choice. I don't want to reveal the name of the organization. What I did is like I wrote a complaint to Human Rights Commission, and immediately within 3 hours I got a reply and a call to that particular organization. So it made me so comfortable. Though I'm not working with that organization, and after that the managing committee came to me and they said sorry and all, but think of the sensitization and networking that other community members has done for the community, which really helped me at this, when I was facing this problem. So we have good law, we have police, we have social activists, we have many organizations working in different blocks of, Maharashtra and other states. So we can definitely take a support. Otherwise, whenever, if it is in my block, whenever I get a call, even if it is late night, I just rush, I go, I try to support them. I have a very good support and connection with deputy commissioners out here in my blocks, and the PSIs and the collector of Thane district. So whenever I face such problem, I definitely, they requested us, you are free to call anytime and we are there to support you. So yes.
Okay. So, Abhina, would you want to add anything here to this question? Because this question was regarding like where does one complain, or what kind of resources are available when there is a distress?
Yeah, I think there is HRLN, which is Human Rights Cell, which supports. There are certain legal entities also, but I think at the various levels, it all depends upon what kind of issues that you are facing and where do you want to see. If you look into the educational system at this point of time, we do not have enough support systems for transgender people, men and women, if they are going through any sort of physical harassment or any sort of traumatized experiences. There aren't any support system available within the educational system. Also at the higher education, we don't have that kind of facility about that. The other bigger problem, Anupama, I just want to highlight based on Dr. Nambiar, what she's saying, is that a lot of people don't know about their human rights. See, she was educated, she knew whom I can write, and she wrote about it, but a lot of community members don't know about it. Now, talking about experiences of Dr. Bela right now, which she talked about it. They have been very supportive to the community and their child, but there are a lot of parents who actually create traumatizing experiences on their daughters and sons who are going into the transition process, and the grass is not always greener on the other side. And where do you complain about these parents? Like, where do I go and complain about my own mother? Where do I go and complain about my own father? It's extremely challenging and difficult, but here the community based organization plays a very, very important role. There are a lot of transgender community based organizations like Tweet Foundations who are working, and they are very well connected to the lawyers who are sensitized on the transgender issues, and also the networks and the other agencies who are providing legal assistance and support. The other thing that they can seek support from is basically from the human rights activists who are working on the cross-sectional issues, which are not from the communities, but they are working on the parallel issues which are associated with the human rights, and those can also help them. They can legally write to the Women's Commission. If you are a transgender woman, you can actually legally write a letter to the Women's Commission, and Women's Commission can help. Even trans men, we have gone to Women's Commissioner several times. They have been supportive to that.
Thanks, Sabina. So I hear the Human Rights Commission, the Women's Commission, and I think all the NGOs, CBOs like Tweet Foundation, Global Rights Foundation, all of you are also providing in your own areas, you're providing this support for people to reach out for help at the right time. I think also, like Yoga was saying, and what Tweet also does is the awareness programs, and what we are also doing now through these webinars, creating awareness, and we're talking about various issues. For most of us, actually, we don't know these stories, and that's the whole idea behind this whole initiative. I have a few other questions which were actually posted earlier. Basically, how does one, and this is for both of you, Dr. Bela and Dr. Nambiar, like how does one go about training and making parents and mothers aware of their role, and how can they fulfill them? So I think that was exactly what Abhinav was, but what do you do when a parent is not being understanding? So how do we teach them? Yes, Dr. Bela.
Yeah. See, first and foremost, though, like what both Abhina and Yoga also said, that there are parents who are not ready to accept, and there are children who are being harassed by their parents only. So one is, there are a number of organizations now. I think Mumbai-based organization Swikar, and there is a branch in Delhi also, where parents can actually get together and have support from each other. Plus, we can talk to the parents. What we have done now through our Khem and Ati, that most of the times the children, they talk to their parents and they give them our contact. And we have spoken to a number of parents and talked to them, told them that whatever the child is going through is absolutely normal. Again, sensitization, education, and teaching is very important. Again, it is the whole society that has to undergo a change. It is not going to happen overnight, but through efforts of all these organizations, this is happening. Support groups are very important. All these organizations are very important. Education institutes are very important, and that has always been our effort also. And I think that is what we all are doing, and that is what I think Yoga and Abhina are also doing. Like I told you, we are putting up this document where Abhina is also giving us a chapter. So all these things ultimately will make an impact.
Thanks, Dr. Bela. Yoga, you want to add anything to this?
Yes. See, awareness. I mean, like, you are brought up like she is a transgender. So, Hijra community is like this. वो पकड़ के ले जाएंगे एंड वो बच्चे लोग को पकड़ के ले जाते, बच्चे लोग को रखते हैं एंड you know all these things, मतलब the way you are brought up is like this. So it is very difficult to change the thoughts, and it is very difficult to bring changes in somebody's thought is very difficult. So sensitization and networking is sensitization networking plays a very important role. I understand it's very difficult to go to each and every parent and explain what transgender is, or how the transgender community is, and वो आपको कुछ नहीं करेंगे and all these things. It is very difficult to explain like this to individual person. But again, yes, sensitization. Earlier, when there was this condom ad which used to come in the television, that time parents used to switch off the television just because my parent my मेरे बच्चे देखने नहीं चाहिए, and that was it. Ended up with big number of HIV positive people, right?
Yes.
And now what we are doing condom promotions, we are doing a lot of condom activities, serials, they are showing condoms, so it is the same. So when transgenders बाहर transgenders दिख जाते हैं तो बच्चे लोग को साइड से चलाते हैं and डर के भागते हैं. All these things, it makes, I know it's a very minor and छोटा सा thing, but it makes a big difference. I mean, getting scared from transgenders, or like there are people, I'm not saying the entire five fingers are same, but again, it will take time. We are 20 years behind than other developed countries. But when we talk about LGBTQ rights, but it will take time. But sensitization, networking, and more awareness about the community is very important. So शादी करा देगा तो वो आदमी बन जाएगा, and because of which parents forcefully in the village side forcefully make people to get married, and then later on it end up with no child, no good marriage life, then फिर वो घर से निकालेगा. Same coming to the community back. So this should not happen, and this happens only because parents are not supportive. Like hats off to you, Dr. Bela, you have done such a good thing by supporting your own daughter and again standing for the community. We should think like how
Absolutely.
yeah, and it makes a big difference. It makes a difference. It will take time. It may take time,
Take
but
time. Yeah.
but we
Yeah,
have
you're right. Like about the condom ad, I remember there was a time even the ringtone used to be condom, 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 because that is how we started promoting, and we did such a lot of work about HIV.
yes.
Right.
So clearly, more conversations need to be had. More people. I think the more we normalize these conversations, the more they will be
Yes.
accepted, and people will realize also what
Yeah.
is to be done, what is not to be done. This
Yeah.
whole fear around the community will slowly disappear, and really that's what our aim also was. When InHarmony and Tweet Foundation got together, this is our aim, that we remove and bust some of the myths that surround the transgender community. And okay, the next question is, what can parents do to integrate their trans child into the mainstream society? Because both of you spoke about how they are teased and they are ranked. Sometimes families don't support them. So what can parents do to get them into the mainstream society?
See, again, first and foremost is education. Education not only of the child, education of the parents, and we need to educate the primary school teachers, because first education of the child after home starts in school. So we need to start sensitizing these teachers so that they also recognize these signs, and if there is any bullying, it starts there only from the primary school. Schools may, we need to have, I think last time also we discussed this, we need to have gender friendly toilets, we need to have gender friendly atmosphere in school. It cannot be binary, ladka hai, ladki hai. It has to be something which is friendly for everybody. It has to start from the very beginning. The society needs to take everything into account. mainstreaming will only occur when it starts from the grassroots. So education is there, and uske baad awareness.
I think that's a very relevant point which you brought, Dr. Bela, about how important it is to have, for schools to have the right and the gender neutral washrooms. We talk about it at corporate places today. And there is a manifesto, there are manuals for what corporate should do to be inclusive. I don't know whether anybody has created this for a school or for an education system.
And another thing which we need to do is believe in the child's narrative. If the child is telling something, if the child is saying कि school में मुझे या the child comes home and tells you I haven't gone to the washroom the whole day, then we need to see why, what is wrong. We have to believe our child, we have to trust the child. As parents, we have to trust that.
Absolutely right. Yoga, you want to add anything to this before we address some? There's a
education is the very important thing, and other than that, the child should have a confidence. I have someone with me. So if a parents, if my mother is supporting me, then I don't need to go to the counselor. So people are the children are facing mental health issues, mental health problems, just because there's no one to talk to them. Children don't know कहाँ से जाना है. ओ मेरा behavior ऐसा क्यों है, मुझे लाइनर लगाने में अच्छा क्यों लगता है. I don't know, but मैं boy हूँ. And they are very much tense. They don't know where to go. And if you support your child and speak to him and talk to him about what he has done, what changes he feels, and what he wants to talk. Be a good friend of your child to avoid going to the counselor. Otherwise, people will end up in mental health issue. And I think the major responsible person would be the family itself. So what I feel is like, talk to your kids, try to understand his problem, and if the child is getting harassed through his peer group or anyone. I remember my professor, when I was in 8th standard, my school teacher asked me, "Are you hijra?" And I was so much disturbed because at that time I was not knowing the meaning of hijra. And I was like, so meaning of hijra as in, I am hijra, I was not aware. I know I'm different, I know there's a change, but hijra word is something which was very painful word. Even when I talk to someone, I say, don't use the word hijra, use transgender, ya kinnar, use that word, It actually feels, we feel good when you use that word. But when you talk, when a parent speak to the child, she will come to know what usko aur kaun kya bula raha hai, what you're called by, by the name. So there are people who came to me and who said like, mujhe school mein hijra bol raha hai, and I'm very disturbed. I told her, why don't you speak to your mother? No, mummy maregi, daddy chillayenge. So this should not happen. And then end up with क्या होता है कि हमारे in our community 98% people 96% of the community member are illiterate. They are illiterate because they are not getting support from the parents, और parents से बोलने के लिए डरता है. They leave their education, they go out in search of gurus, they go out in search of other support, friends, other transgender community members. Some get into alcoholism, some get into some other addiction. So by the end of the day, you're just spoiling your life, the child's life. So it's very important for a parent to sit and talk. Even if the child is normal, even if it is a boy or girl, it's very important to be friendly with the child. Do not scare the child कि बच्चे आपसे बात करने के लिए डरे. So this is what I want.
Okay. Okay. I'm just directly going to ask a few questions. We are already like we are at 6:33. If participants are okay, we'll just take another 10 minutes to respond to some of the questions which have come up. So it will be really nice if you can stay on just for these another 10 minutes. So
Yes, firstly,
I think both Dr. Bela and Yoga, you need to stay on right till the end and read some of the
Sure.
messages which have come. It is so
Yeah.
encouraging. And I think you read it, you'll just feel more motivated to just know that you're on the right track.
Absolutely.
Great job. So I think some questions which have come, people have asked for resources, reading material, etc. So what we could do is that we will get these from between Abhina, Dr. Bela, Yoga. We'll get all the resources. We will email it to you. We have your email IDs. We will do that. Somebody also asked that, do the government systems have mental health support for the transgender community? So does, I think even Abhina could answer, anybody could respond to this question, any of the three. Is there actually I don't think even the mental health bill is really out as yet. So
Yes.
कोई mental health support है community के लिए?
I think Sanjay can answer this question if you allow him.
Of course, yes, yes.
The government has got a mental health bill which is executing separately, but the transgender component is missing. Unfortunately, even the counselors have really no idea about gender, and that is where the lacuna is. One thing that we are trying to tell the government is that gender experience starts very early, 2 to 5 years of age, and till you do not understand the gender development, you will not be able to address the issue. A lot of mental health personnel themselves go with this idea that they are dealing with a pathology. Until this is the narrative in the mental health teaching, we will not be able to go forwards. So mental health bill is working in a different silo. NACO is the only government agency which is addressing transgender issues, but they are looking at transgender issues through a HIV prism. So they have counseling, but it is related to HIV counseling. Whereas the person requires counseling in the entire spectrum. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Sanjay. From the HIV point of view, there is, through NACO, there is counseling, but not as, like a mental health. And I do know that even as far as psychological counseling is concerned, there are very few trained counselors or psychologists who understand this space. Yes, I also know that this is now running specific programs on counseling in the LGBT area. So I'll just move to the next question. If the gharana, if somebody wants to get away from the gharana and pursue a formal education, is a gharana, will they cooperate? Will they support the person from leaving the gharana? I think Yoga, you would be able to answer that question.
See, when it comes to education, there is no restriction in our community. Our gurus, our community members are very, very, they get very excited when they come to know that we have an educated person in our group, in our community. So my guru is very proud of me. My community members are very proud of me. And I get so happy when I look at my community members, if they're qualified and they're doing something really good in their life. So there is no restrictions when it comes to education. There is no restrictions in the community if somebody wants to continue their education or they want to study.
There are three questions a person has asked. What is the difference, or give an example of gender congruence and gender variance?
Gender incongruence is a term which has been introduced in 2018 by WHO. And incongruence means that your experience does not match with the external body that you have. That is what is meant by incongruence. They have not defined the degree of incongruence. So any degree, be it from, let's say, a small degree to a great degree, would be considered as gender incongruent. And they have also said further that this is not a pathology. So they have recognized the variation that is present in gender. So gender variance is considered to be a part of this term called gender incongruence. That was the thought process behind these two terms. Earlier, we used to say gender variance. We also used to talk about non-conforming. And there was a little confusion when so many terms came in. So hence, now WHO has given us one term, which is sort of an umbrella.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Sanjay. I think there's a question for Yoga about can there be a state-wise CBO document?
If you're talking about CBO documentation of list of transgenders, I mean, like the data of transgenders in the community-based organization, then yes, every CBO has got.
Excuse me, Dr. Yoga. No, I was not asking that. I was asking, like, the name of the CBO for as in a state-wise. Suppose there is in Delhi we have suppose 5 or 7 CBOs, just for example, all their names. So that as the way you have emphasized that if someone is being harassed or someone is in bullying, they should come to you at least, so that if I am seeing someone that that human is being bullied for their gender expression or gender identity, I can at least ask them to please, you are in this state, you can go to this person or this CBO. So that is what I am asking here about. On a we have, I guess, 28 states now and other union territories included. That's why I am asking.
Yes. So, Mr. Sandeepan, we have like lot of community-based organizations in Mumbai and Thane districts of Maharashtra. We have it in Pune also. We have it in Nasik also. And if you need the list of CBOs, yes, I can definitely help with the list of CBOs to.
I am asking it basically because I am a native of the northeastern state of Tripura, and
Okay.
in my knowledge, I have not known any CBO working for the Kinner community there. Maybe there are. I am not denying it. Maybe I am not aware. But if that document, I just matlab, you are understanding, right, why I'm asking it? Because I know people who I know that they are seeking help, and I can't ask them to come to Bombay to get help, right?
Definitely.
So that's what I am asking here.
Sandeepa,
Yes,
if you don't mind, I think what we could do is if you can drop your email ID here in the chat box, maybe Yoga can get in touch with you, Yoga and Abhina actually, and you could have a more detailed conversation on this.
yes, why not? I'll do
It
that.
will be very helpful, I think, because
Yes.
you will have
Yes, that's a good idea.
you may
Yes,
want to explore it further.
Yes, okay, I'll do that.
Okay, I'm presuming we have addressed most of the questions. Shireen, have we missed anything? Because we're also like completely running short of time, and it's been a very interesting conversation. Anything which we missed? Shireen, anything we...
Yes, so people have been inquiring about parent support groups and other things, which we said we will share in due course. There was one question on how do you educate the government in this regard?
Yeah, I saw that, and we have already started that program in Ati. In fact, Sanjay's just gone out, but we are already, we have started the dialogue. With this quarantine and everything, things have kind of slowed down a little, but things are in place. Not in place, I would say, but we are moving in that direction.
Yeah, Abhina, you want...
Delhi government ke saath chal raha hai.
Abhina, you want to add, because I know you do a lot of work in this advocacy work.
Yeah. Just want to update everybody, the government is sensitive about these issues. Recently, in 2016, 15th April 2016, the Supreme Court gave the judgment to acknowledge transgender as a third gender. And last year in 2019, 6th September, the government has already passed a bill called the Right of Transgender Bill. Now, there are some flaws, big flaws into the bill. But however, we are working very, very closely with National Backward Class Mission. We are working with the Women's Ministry, and we are also working very, very closely with NISD, National Institute of Social Defense, which is Congregation of Social Welfare, Justice, Women Department, and everything. So Dr. Virendra Mishra, who is the director of that institution, is actually writing a book on transgender, and we are providing a lot of support to that, to this person. But at the same time, what I would just like to acknowledge you that recently government has issued a notice to create rules for the transgender bill. Right now, the work with the government is work in process. But what has come out from the government is that government is establishing the shelter home across India for transgender women. Never happened before. So this is a good thing that is happening. Government is keen to establish some sort of a national helpline for transgender crisis response related work. That work is still going on. I'm pushing the government as much as possible. It would take some amount of time. There are some UN-based agency that works with the adolescents individuals, and we have asked government to link with them and introduce the gender and sexuality topic into the educational system, so that early children would understand what they are going through and protect themselves from bullying, and also reach out to their parents rather than actually reaching out to the wrong source of information for seeking any LGBT related information. So we are working on that. So working with Educational Ministry of including that curriculum specifically on sexuality and gender is something which we are working on. So there's a lot of work which is happening. But again, as the wise man says, that if you want to create a bigger change, the change starts from your own home. So unless and until all of you start talking to your children about gender and sexuality, because if you yourself ask yourself that first, where did you get the first information of sexuality and gender or sex? You would have got that from either your friends, or either you have got from some books or some magazines or some own movies. But we hardly talk to our children about these sensitive issues. The minimum that we talk about is basically menstrual cycle and other related aspects. But we don't talk about education of sexuality and gender because we ourselves don't know. So that, as Dr. Bela said correctly, is that you can evolve, can increase your information, create change in your society, and that will reflect into the policies of the government. Because your children are the future government officials. Don't forget that. They are the one who's going to make those changes. So you start with them beforehand. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhina. And I think we're right at the end. I'm really thankful to all the participants for having stayed with us through the workshop. I hope you found this webinar useful, enlightening. I think the messages are hugely encouraging. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to Dr. Bela and to Dr. Nambiar. You, both your story, your life journey, it's hugely inspiring. I'm a parent, and I know parenting by itself is a daunting task, and both your stories have really inspired, I think, all of us here who have been at the webinar. Before we sign off, I would just like to announce our next webinar, which is next Friday, same time. We'll be introducing 2 trans men. So far you have interacted with Abhina and Yoga, both of whom are trans women. And we'll be now introducing you to a couple of trans men, and please listen to their story. You'll understand things from their point of view, and it'll be very interesting because being born a girl and in India, which is largely patriarchal, and then from there wanting to transform yourself, change yourself to a man, it's not an easy journey. To listen to their stories, logging to our seminar. And I'd also like to share this. Shireen, could you please share this logo? Which is, so 17th May is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia and Biphobia. So we will email this to you. If you can, on your DP, WhatsApp DP, Facebook DP, if you can put your picture and have this logo on the side, it will really show the support that you have, or the new understanding that you're getting about the transgender community and the whole LGBT community. It will mean a lot for many people across the world that there are new allies coming to support them. Dr. Bela and Dr. Yoga Nambiar, thank you very much for this session.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone.